Welcome to First Responder Financial Freedom Podcast. We talk to first responders all over the nation who are investing and working on businesses outside of their first responder jobs. Our goal is to motivate and educate each other and help provide a better financial understanding for a better future. Now here are your hosts, Mike Webb, Tyler Thrush, and Aaron Foster.
All right, First Responder Financial Freedom. Me and Tyler are going to talk about some actionable items today and probably just talk trash about each other and our lives that are a hot mess. He's going to make fun of me for some things I got going on that I haven't told him about yet. So, all right, let's do an hour. Let's start with actual items. Let's talk about people who don't have money, what they can get into as a first business, and how they can go about doing it. So one of my boys is a vet. He's a VA. He did what was that? Not Fallujah, not Bakram. He did the first opening campaign in Bakram. He's a Army dude. And because he was in the Army, he is now able to get a SBA loan 100% through the VA to start up a company he's looking at doing. So if you're listening to this and you served and you're looking for tax write-offs and to start a business, a good option is to go to the military or go to the VA and get a business plan going and start your own company for virtually free. That's the startup cost, the LLC. We got that set up in 10 minutes online in my state. And so when we're looking at these things, we sat down and talked about it, and it was like, what's the overhead? What's the startup costs? And we were going over this thing. I was like, dude, you have no startup costs. So you're cash flowing virtually immediately. So that's what we're going to start off today is stuff like that. So for me, everybody knows I've got a little laser printing / woodwork company. I paid my machine off when I first bought it for probably $3,000 a couple of years ago. I paid it off in like 2 months.
Okay. So I'm going to interrupt you. So you do that. And how much did the machine cost? You said $3,000?
So we'll say like 3 G's for the machine, and then it came with a starter pack of materials, and then software. The software came with the program, so it's plug and play, and it's very, very user friendly.
Okay,
so my overhead was literally just $3,000 and whatever wood I used to make stuff. So the reason I ended up buying it was because I made a lot of woodwork stuff where I had cutouts. I don't think I have anything in here right now.
You made our station Christmas ornaments.
Yeah, I did. So like. Here's the DC Burn Foundation. This is something I did a while ago. It's just taking the design and burning it onto a piece of wood and then putting that piece of wood onto a flag or something like that. So my profit margins were, in the 60 to 70% range, because you have to factor in your time or your hours going back and forth to the store, time to build, glue, paint, blah 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 blah. But these are all things you need to know before you start a business. Is what's your overhead look like versus what your income is. But a buddy of mine did well into the 6 figures this year in 3 months with his laser printer making advent calendars and woodwork stuff. So like there is a business there.
So here, I'm going to stop you down and I'm going to slow you down. So we're going to go step by step real quick because this has been a topic on the Facebook group, and even I jumped in because I've seen you do it, and I've always been interested because I love starting businesses and trying to figure stuff out. And to your point, this is a lot less capital intensive than real estate, which you and Mike are heavily involved in. So you spent $3,000, you said plus materials. And then, so that would be your overhead. You have to understand what your overhead is getting into something. I think you briefly mentioned it took you 3 years to pay it back, right?
Yep. No, 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
So everything was paid off for cash flowing within probably 2 months, but we'll say 3 just to add a buffer.
Perfect. And then you just showed us the products that you made.
One of the top.
How much would an average product sell for? Let's use the Christmas ornaments or that Burn Foundation.
All right. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm just going to hold a couple of things up. Like you can see like the different ideas that you have for Christmas ornaments, like the stuff during COVID that I was making, or firehouse patches. You can do acrylic, you can do wood, you can do leather, you can do a whole bunch of stuff. So my focus has always been wood and acrylic. And I say that because I know how to work with it. I know what my settings are going to be. And the sheets I was getting at the time were like $15 a sheet. and I could probably cut out 100+ ornaments per sheet if I need to.
Okay. So stop right there.
Okay.
So it's $100 a sheet, right?
Yep.
How many ornaments can you cut out of one sheet, you said?
We'll say at least 100, depending on the size. So that depends if it's 3 inches or 6 inches.
So let's say 100 for easy math, because I'm not planning on this. We're just shooting from the hip today. So 100 ornaments for $100. How much did you sell each ornament for?
So 100 ornaments for $15. So the sheet was $15, and each ornament was for wood, I usually do right around $8. So $800 for one sheet. My profit margin is $785 minus tax.
Okay, so
and marketing.
We're gonna talk about that. So your gross profit is what you take in, not accounting for expenses when you're starting a business. Your gross profit on that would be,
my net profit would be $785.
And then your gross would be what?
$800.
So you have a $15 difference, and that's going to be your expenses that you have to calculate.
Yes.
So like Aaron said, so all in, let's say if you were to buy the printer and materials for $3,000 plus the $100 for the sheet, you're in $3,100. And
$3,015.
Oh, $3,015. Okay, I'm sorry. $3,015. You made $785 net your first sheet. So technically, in between 3 to 4 sheets, like you mentioned, you're already break even. Now everything on top of that is pure profit.
Yeah. Correct? So we'll say, so just for numbers, this year I probably did around $2,000 in 1 week in a span of, we'll say, 7 to 10 days in Christmas ornaments. And that's without marketing. That was just doing it for friends and family that I know, because I didn't plan on doing it this year. But with marketing, you can do significantly more.
Okay. And so you do have word of mouth, and you do have referrals.
Yes. So, and I have a history, and I already have the products, and I already have the files.
Which is huge. And that's the thing, a lot of people get worried because they want to spend a lot of money on marketing and stuff like that. I truthfully, until this year, have not spent money on my mortgage business in over 10 years. But like Aaron, I know, has done, and I do the same thing in my mortgage business, is if you bust your butt, do a good job, and make sure that you stick to your timelines, you have a good quality product. For Aaron, it's all of his woodworking and acrylic. For me, it's mortgages. You're going to get word of mouth, and it's going to spread. So like I said, we always talk about these we talk about real estate, storage facilities, which are all awesome. And I think over time will produce significantly more revenue. But in my opinion, a good way to get started is with something that has a lower startup expense, like Aaron is mentioning. Master that. And like he said, something very key. He did not market. He did not plan on doing this. If he did both of those, you're going to get exponentially bigger numbers. And I personally would take a portion of those profits, divert them to an account to where I use that to invest in a different passive stream to where that's making money while I continue to make my money. And you're going to start stacking different forms of passive income while you're continuing to do active income. And active income is going to be Aaron's firefighting. It's going to be his woodworking and acrylic, as well as anything else that he does. So I like listening to these guys talk about this, because for me, it's like, oh, this is really interesting. I kind of wanted to do it. And I had heard you guys talking about a printer in the group that was $11,000. So what's the difference between the printer that you currently have for $3,000 and the $11,000 one? If you don't know what post I'm talking about.
Yeah. So
is it volume? Is it quality?
Let's take a step back first. So I said I made about $2,000 in about a week's time. So you do, just for round numbers, $2,000 minus or divided by $8 per ornament. That's only 250 ornaments. Now I'm making the ornaments at anywhere from $10 to $15 per minute, but I'm hitting a button and the machine is making it for me while I do something else. Now it could be marketing, it could be Facebook, it could be TikTok, it could be sending, nudes to Tyler. It just depends on what my free time looks like. So you got to realize, like, your time cost expense is a significant part of running a business. Like, you can't just, we were talking about this before we popped on, is now that Tyler has specific days he's going to be home, he needs to organize his time so he makes the most productive time in the day while he's at home versus getting distracted. Like he needs to set schedules for himself. And I need to do the same thing because I'm about to move my office somewhere else. So I won't be distracted by dogs and TikTok and Facebook and, shiny new objects and whatever marketing. So make sure you guys are looking at your time cost constraints, because if you are doing this and you're not making any money off of it and you're working for $1 or $2 an hour, you might as well just go get a part-time job unless you're learning a new skill, because the skills, once you learn it, are usually invaluable. So on to the next printer or the next laser or the next engraver, whatever it is. So there's a deal right now. It's Aeon. It's AEON. There's a Mira 7, 9, 10, and each one is just a little bit bigger. The platform that you work on gets a little bit bigger, and the stronger the bulb, the deeper the cuts are going to be. So instead of doing like 1/8 of an inch, like I have right here, you're going to get into 1/4 or more, depending on which type of wood you're going to use and which type of acrylic you're going to use. So higher wattage equals more power, obviously, and then the ability to cut through bigger material and thicker material is where it's at, and faster. So I got a couple friends that I laser with. We talk amongst each other about what's next. And the thing I want to do next is I've got a lot of contacts in the gun world. So in order to laser guns or upper receivers or lowers, I have to have a fiber laser, which is a completely different topic. But a fiber laser is going to basically burn away the metal and put designs in things. Now it could be a We the People, Don't Tread on Me, a snake, a whole bunch of different stuff, tumblers. So that's going to be a different type of laser. And you need to figure out how long will it take me to get a return on my investment, your ROI, when I put the money towards this item, so this laser. So we'll say round numbers. We'll say $10,000. They're actually on sale right now, but we'll say $10,000. How many ornaments? Because I know ornaments we'll just say $10. How many ornaments would I need to sell to recover $10,000? So you basically just do your $10,000 divided by $10 an ornament, and you're at 1,000 ornaments. Is that doable in 1 year? 100%. Could I do it with the wall hangers with like the depth of a lake or a mountain or a different type of like maps from different cities? So everybody knows the East Coast cities are very popular. So if you do a layout of New York City, Boston City, DC, Savannah, LA, San Francisco, people like to hang those in their properties as decor. So could you market those to a lot of the people who want to do decor? Yeah, absolutely. And then you increase your profit margins instead of being at, a couple bucks per item. Now you're at $100 per item because your markup's significantly more because you have a skill set that most people can't do. So that's what we're looking at next, is getting a fiber laser and a higher wattage laser than I have now. Table's bigger, it's stronger, cuts through bigger stuff, and it's basically more badass. So there's that.
So for that too, like I feel like I've seen it before, but the laser that you're referring to that you have now is in the office you're in right now, right?
Yeah, it's sitting next to me. It's called a Glowforge, and it's very, very, very user friendly. But with the user friendliness, you don't get the power, you don't get the speed, you don't get everything else. So this is very plug and play. I can take a picture and I can redesign it and I can put it into the system and etch it out, cut it out, whatever I need to do. But the new system, I need to learn a new program. So the cheapest way to do that, I think it's called Light Source. And I think it's a one-time fee of $50. And then it's kind of like, not PowerPoint. It's kind of like whatever you do, like image photo editing on. So will it take a little while to learn the program? Yeah, but then it's another skill I have in the future to edit pictures and stuff like that. But say I didn't want to do any of this stuff. Like say I didn't want to do the laser, and I didn't want to do the editing. I didn't want to go marketing. Say I just wanted to do like the photo editing. You can go on Fiverr or Upwork or onlinejobs.ph and find somebody overseas who will do image editing for you. Or if you can do it, you can go on there and market your skills. I know some people who are getting $40 to $80 an hour to do photo editing for weddings, baby showers, and a couple other things I've been looking into. So is there a skill set there? Yeah, you can double dip if you want to. So you just got to figure out what's your niche and what you want to get into, what your time's worth, and then what's your skill set and what you're going to enjoy doing. Like I enjoy doing woodwork. It keeps me busy.
See, and that's the thing too, right? Like a lot of the guys were on there were already interested or were already doing it, and some of them sounded like had a huge volume. And so for me, it's funny because I was thinking, well, how would I best apply my skills? And for me, I'm thinking, well, I already have the capital, so I'm not going to have to finance it. I immediately thought, well, I already know how to find VAs now because of real estate. So I would just find a VA that knew the program that was attached to whatever specific laser I'm purchasing. And then I would basically have them get everything set up, ready to roll. And then I could just focus on the production, shipping, things like that, to where that's where my strengths lie already, as opposed to, and I'm not against it. That's the thing too. We have to think, are you doing this as a like not a hobby? I guess you could say as a hobby, a somewhat profitable hobby. Yes. Or are you legit trying to do this as like a business that you're trying to scale? If you just enjoy learning programs and you enjoy the woodworking and you don't really care about the profit, by all means, learn all of the programs, dial it in yourself to where you can do it and you enjoy it. And then just don't exceed your capacity to where, like Aaron said, you're working for basically it's another job that you're creating for yourself. And I think Aaron does a good job with that. With this, is he takes as many orders as he wants, and then he just kind of shuts it down after that. For me, I enjoy starting new businesses, seeing if they work. Some of them, a lot of them, end up on the cutting room floor. But like for me, this would be, oh, this is cool because I enjoy. I told him the other day we were texting. I enjoy marketing. I enjoy advertising. I liked seeing if I can create things on the internet to get people engaged and to buy a product or do things like that. So I'm like, oh man, this is something that interests me. So I just like talking about this. I told Aaron that I wanted to talk about it because a lot of people want to get started in real estate, but they don't have the funds. And we had there's a conversation going about overtime. And I still think that, like what Aaron's mentioning, there's guys that are doing pressure washing, guys that are doing landscaping, things like that. I personally would rather do something like this where I can build something that I can eventually remove myself from, that creates a profit center that will allow me to invest in real estate.
So Dan and Ian, who are regulars on the podcast and in the group, they sat me down one time like, dude, why don't you just hire this out? Like, have somebody else cut the stuff. And I was like, because I enjoy doing it. That's the biggest thing, is like, I enjoy making stuff with my hands. I cut down part of a tree a couple months ago, and now I'm putting a little roof on it, so it looks like this little like hobbit house. And it's not because I have to. It's just because I think it's a neat little thing to have. And if I ever sell this house, somebody's gonna be like, "That's really cool." So it might not be, but I'm a big ass kid, so whatever.
You're a tinkerer. There's a lot of tinkerers on the fire department. You're
like, I just want to adjust this or fix this or make this, or they ended up breaking it half the time, and somebody like me has to come in and fix it. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, usually wheelmen or truckies, in my experience, are always, they love to tinker and they love the projects, right? I mean, that's what the guys love. So it's funny you said that, because when I see things going on in the group where we're talking, and I know your response is going to be, well, figure it out, go learn it, go do it. My response would be, outsource that sucker to somebody who knows how to do it. And both answers are right.
Yes.
Because depending on who you are, and like, I know that you enjoy doing those things. I think they're cool. I enjoy it in a different way. I enjoy it in creating a good product and a valuable business. Whereas you like to get your hands on the product. You like doing that stuff. So it's all different. I think what we're trying to say in a very roundabout way is, for everybody who's in the group or who's listening that wants to get started in some type of side business, some venture, some side hustle, or perhaps it's real estate, because I feel like you would agree with me, the most common question or instant message or text message that I get is, hey, I really want to do this, but I don't have the funds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's think about something that has a lower barrier to entry, but can still become very profitable. Because what did you say your profit was this year?
I think it was like 60 or 70% profit.
But like, on a total number, like, what do you think is a realistic number for somebody for 1 year?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea, because I've been doing woodwork for so long. Like, I'm very much word of mouth. So a lot of guys come to me like, hey, can you build a table? I'm like, I don't do that anymore. Or, hey, can you refinish this antique, whatever? I'm like, I don't do that anymore. But I do make Christmas ornaments. So what would you like for Christmas?
So for Christmas ornaments, if somebody was going to start doing this and they were to kind of mirror the volume that you were doing, what, like a ballpark number, what do you think they can make? 10 grand?
If you actually market this, and I looked at doing this, the same guys I had this conversation about lasers, I was going to market to all the unions around the country. So there's 3,600 counties in the U.S. So, I can go to a union in each one, whether it be police or fire or like anything. It could be like the guys who are the iron workers. It could be the dock workers. But any kind of union, like once you get your foot in the door, like, hey man, I can make you guys your patch or your union patch, and you can sell it to your guys for a profit. I'll make you in bulk. I'll give you wholesale prices, which is usually lower than my one-offs or my five-offs. And so I mean, could you make $100,000 a year just doing some woodwork and just doing lasering? Yeah, absolutely. It just, you need to get in front of the people who want to buy it, and that's 100% about marketing or word of mouth or having a good reputation.
But I mean, and we know too. So for those of us that are firefighters, I'm assuming police officers, everybody else works the same way. We all love our patches. We all love our challenge coins.
Tumblers.
The tumblers, the flags. There's a lot of things that pretty much any guys can do that guys are going to be interested in. And when you said this, as far as like the way my mind works in something that you're doing, you're focusing, I think, and I could be wrong, on how to tinker with the machine, right? Immediately when you're talking, I'm thinking, how do I get this in front of people to sell this? And I'm thinking, I'm going to make my own tumbler. I'm going to make my own challenge coin. I'm going to bring it to the station. I'm going to be drinking my coffee in the morning. They're going to be like, hey, Thresh, where'd you get that? Oh, yeah. I made this.
Yeah. And then you have to network and contact, because the fire department and the police department and the military are very small arenas. Like, you are separated by people by a rule of 5. You can get in front of a lot of people just by having contacts. And I'm not, so everybody thinks I'm this like big social butterfly, but dude, when I go out and network and I have those social events, I'm exhausted. It sucks my energy, but it's part of the process to go out and, if you want to expand your network and your net wealth, like, you have to do it. It's just, you got to surround yourself with people that are doing the same thing that you want to do, or you are doing and doing it better. So like, I mean, let's talk about like profit margins though. Like, so I've been talking about buying this excavator for like 3 months. So I finally bought this excavator, this little tiny 1-ton excavator. And I posted it on the group. I think I paid like $4,600 for it. Then I'll have to pay import fees here in the US and a couple other fees getting it off. We'll say I'm into this thing for $4,600. I'm sorry, $5,500 to $6,000 once I get to my house. These things I know for a fact are selling even on Facebook Marketplace for anywhere from $9,500 to $10,500. So if I use this thing for 50 hours, I put 50 hours in the clock. Say I buy it and I do all the projects I need to do on all my properties, and I turn around and sell it for, we'll say $9,500 on the low end. I'm into it for $6,000. So I make a $3,500 profit. I take that same profit, I go back and order another one. And now instead of being into it for $4,600, I'm into it for like $1,500. It doesn't include all the attachments I'm getting, like the auger and the buckets and whatever else I'm getting, the rippers and whatnot. So is there ways to make money? Yeah. Like I talked to one guy in one of the construction groups I'm part of who's buying 10 of these things and then selling them all for a 100% markup. So get them imported, get them to his property for $5,000, turn around and sell them for $10,000. And he just doubles his money every time. So take your time, put some energy into looking to see what things actually cost. Because I went through this earlier today. I actually sat down and looked at one of my short-term rentals, and I was like, what numbers did I actually come out of pocket? So it was the water, the electricity, the natural gas, the landscaping, the replacement of materials like, I don't know, like towels, cups, plates, silverware. Like, it all adds up over time. So make sure you're making enough money to where it makes a profit for you and it makes sense. So I know you like, so you're going to start doing a lot of marketing to do mortgages, right?
Yeah, I am. I am going to do it. I haven't done it for a long time, but as volume is going to contract, there's going to be less loans out there for pretty much the same amount of loan officers. So I've started doing a lot of social media, which I'm definitely not comfortable with, but I figured I can sit there and just wait for my phone to ring or try something that I know is very popular right now and is generating a lot of business.
TikTok.
And I'm just, what's that?
Got to get on TikTok.
I do. And that's the thing too. So it's like, but I also chose to do it in a way that I feel comfortable with. I don't want to be cheesy. I don't want to do, it's just, I have chosen to go like the informational route, and then hopefully that spurs conversations that I would like it to turn into business. I would be being disingenuous if I'm not trying to do that, but I'm comfortable doing that if I know I'm providing value, right? If I know I'm providing value and I get business out of it, then to me, that's the best way to obtain business. So I'm doing that, but I also, to your point, my profit margin prior to this has been much higher because I really only have a set expenses like credit report, software, things like that. Now I have to go and see, well, how much am I spending per loan? Is it worth it to spend this much money per loan? And if not, I have to adjust things and figure out what I'm going to do. So it's taking an existing business, I'm retooling it because the market has changed and I'm trying new things. And while it's not like, the best market to be in, I enjoy it because I'm testing out skills that I have for other businesses that I have that I'm applying to mortgages, and I know it'll bear fruit. I just have to be patient enough for it to do that. And so to that point, I gave myself 1 year. I'm going to post this stuff for 1 year without any judgment of how it works. I paid for the marketing up front. So I have 1 year of the marketing paid for up front to where, hey, I'm all in for 52 weeks. And then after that, I'm going to look back. And to your point, like your short-term rental is, how much did I spend? How much did it return as far as income? And A, is that good enough for me? Or B, could I spend it somewhere else and get a better return? If I'm getting a 2X, who would not spend $1 to get $2 in return? But if I'm spending $1 and getting $1.25 in return, okay, that's kind of sketchy because, if it doesn't go my way, I'm going to start losing money. That's why when I saw you guys saying 70 to 80% profit margin, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of room to play around there on the first, first couple months to where, hey, I can make these and make a decent amount of money. And am I comfortable losing $3,000 spending money on this machine and having it not produce anything? And my answer for myself was yes, because I'm willing to take that risk and see what happens, because I've taken risks before and it's worked out. So to your point, we're kind of bouncing all over the place, but I think
that's fine. It does teach some people about some stuff. Like we want to have a gross profit, net profit, return on investments, time management. So like, say I do upgrade my laser. We'll run through the exact numbers that I'm going through in my head. Like, say I buy a laser for $10,000 and I get a fiber laser that goes along with it because it's on sale right now, right? I have the laser sitting next to me. I can probably sell this for $2,000 to $2,500. So now I'm out of pocket, say $8,000 to $7,500. We'll say $8,000. I've already got a bunch of material. I already have a bunch of files. So at what point is my break-even cost? If I make this year in that 1 week I made $2,000, that's 250 ornaments where I have to just basically drag it over, hit a button, and then it makes money for me. So is it worth my time? Yeah. Most people who start a company take a loss for the first 2 years. If you hustle just a little bit and go and start selling stuff on Etsy, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, you can get a pretty good return on that. You just got to put the effort forth. And that's what I think a lot of people lack, is the effort, which is what we're pushing you guys to do. Is here's your guideline of, I want you to market. I want you to buy the product. I want you to learn a skill set. And then I want you to use that and market it to people who in your department or your in your network, and say, hey, I know this guy owns this company. Hey man, do you want to buy Christmas ornaments or tumblers, or do you want to do gun slides for your crew? My brother, I was just with him yesterday. We spent Christmas together we got the whole family together, and he was showing me that he's got these nifty new boots, like these freaking awesome boots that the department or his construction company paid $300 for them. I'm like, man, it would be kind of cool if I could laser like the name on each boot so everybody knows like it's kind of customized to them because it's customized leather. And I was like, that'd be a whole new crew to market too. But in my mind, I was like, I don't have the time. Like, not right now with everything I got going on. When I get a new laser and it fits better and I can do it faster, yeah. If it takes 15 minutes to do it with this machine, or if it takes 2 minutes with the other one, it makes more sense to go after that market next year. So it's how do I say this? It takes effort, but you just need to see if your time constraints is worth it in terms of finances. I was talking to my buddy Matt the other day about this, and he's like, how much energy and time are you spending? Are you buying are you buying a company? And I'm like, yeah, kind of, but it's a company I enjoy. I have the time for it. And if I don't, then I can move on to something else. Like, to Dollar's point, like, he's got mortgages down pat. Like, you know where to look, you know who to market to, how to market. And then now it's just a matter of somebody choosing you because you have better rates, better communication, faster turnover. You explain things better to them. You have a social presence. You know, it takes, I think it was like 5 or 7 times touches it takes for somebody to recognize your name. So once they see your name after a couple of times, like, oh yeah, I've seen him before. Or yeah, he's been on the billboard. He's been on the side of the bus. He's got a Facebook ad. He's got an Instagram ad. He's got TikToks where he's, you know, shaking his booty and, you know, doing funny things. So is it worth it for you to put that energy and effort out there? Yeah, absolutely. If shaking my ass makes me $2,000, I will be your Huckleberry. I'll be your Aaron Britney Spears Foster.
And that's the thing too. I think the whole point is we have the First Responder Financial Freedom podcast and Facebook group to accomplish the same goals, to get guys and girls who are used to trading their time for money and maybe looking at things a little bit differently. And you may at first still be doing the same thing, or you may continue to do it, but can you get a greater return by doing something outside of your individual department? And the conversation that was started the other day was there's a certain department in California where the newspaper said that this guy made X amount of dollars. And, you know, it was comments on both sides. Oh, I would absolutely do that. You know, that's a good amount of money. And my thought was, from knowing guys like that and being very close to this department, is that is not worth it to me, because it's not sustainable. And it's going to cause health issues and things like that down the road. So I was thinking, well, I think it's because we're all so programmed, and depending on how you grew up, you've seen your parents do the same thing where, well, if I want to make more money, I have to go contribute more time. And like you said, now it's like, well, you started off doing that, right, with the Christmas ornaments, but now you understand something, a new business, and you say, well, instead of using more time to create more money, there is a product or a new, better, bigger laser that allows you to do something that is extremely powerful with any type of investing or business. And that's using the power of leverage.
Yes.
Once you're able to use leverage, and in this case, it's a bigger machine that has a bigger capacity, you can create more products. You can create more high-end products, from what I understand. You now have increased your ability to make a profit using the exact same amount of time. And once you understand that and you see it in your own life, you can never go back, because now you know, hey, with the same 5 hours, let's say I used to be making $200, and now I'm doing 5 hours and I'm making $1,000 or $5,000. You're like, whoa, why didn't I do this earlier? But it's because, at least for myself, I'll speak for myself, growing up, I never understood that. I was never taught that until I was reading and self-taught. And the biggest thing for me was seeing examples in other people's life and trying to reverse engineer, because I'm always asking, I'm always walking around, how did this person do that? How did they do that? How did they make this much money? How are they able to get financing? All these things like that. And now you can't turn it off. But once you start to reverse engineer it, and you understand more often than not, it's leverage, whether it's leveraging other people's time, wherein it's leveraging other people's money, and you start to expand. Then going back to the conversation we had in the group of the I think it was a captain who made X amount of dollars. It's
700,000 it was.
Yeah. Is that, and that sounds rad, but I think we broke it down. What was it, like 250 or 280 days out of the year?
If he wasn't sleeping at home, he was at work. Like this, like every day was 16 hours. It broke down to. It was just,
that's what it was. Every day of the year was 16 hours, and that's a big chunk of money. Like nobody's going to deny that. But at what cost? You can't have a family if you're working 16 hours a day, or if you can, it's going to be short lived.
So let's touch on that real quick, because I think so you had a good point to my response to that. So some departments do the average of 3. My department doesn't. Tyler's department doesn't. A lot of people's don't. So the average of 3 is the last 3 years of your career. They average it out. So if his was, and they don't work this way, but if his was 150, and then 717,000, he increases his average to $336,000 a year at retirement. So instead of getting $150,000 a year at retirement, now he's getting $336,000. But his department doesn't work that way.
And that's a whole different conversation. And at that point, yeah, you've leveraged your your life to drastically change your pension for the rest of your life. And that's a whole different conversation.
If I could do that in my department, like work virtually every day for 16 hours, the rest of that 1 year of the end of my career, is it worth it to me to increase my profit margins by 100 and some odd thousand a year or $200,000? Absolutely. I'll be at the firehouse. I'll be that guy. But my department doesn't work like that. Tyler's doesn't. A lot of guys don't. But you should know this in the police and fire and whatever department you work for. Like, what does your pension and what does your retirement look like? So we had this conversation. We've been going back and forth. Another group that I run for my department is for every 721 hours of sick leave, you sell it back to the department and you can get 1% on your retirement. And is that worth it to you? To me, it's not. 721 hours is only 1%. So it would increase my profits a year by, I think it's $1,000. So yeah, I get $1,000 more a year, but what's that break down to? $83 a month or $41.50 every 2 weeks. Can I do something else with that year of my life to make more? 100%. But most guys, when they hit 25 years, they don't want to do anything anymore. Whereas there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's no wrong strategy. It's just what strategy works for you and have an idea of how this stuff works. Do you guys have anything like that, like a buyback program for your annual leave or sick leave or comp time?
We do. And to be honest, I'll, in the spirit of full transparency, I legitimately do not understand any of that. And it's, not because I'm ignorant. I told myself when I started doing all this on the side, I need to make sure that I'm doing something that allows me to be comfortable regardless of the outcome of my pension. And it's because in California and I think in the US, I have always thought that our pensions are going to be under attack. So, and I think they will be. The closer you get to that, I think the better you feel about, mine will make it and mine will be safe. But my point is, I know we do. I know it helps our pension, but to be honest with you, I have zero idea. I know it boosts it, but I don't. And it's because I've been so focused on things that I can control. And that is me making money outside of it. I know it's going to help me when I do retire. To tell you how much, I could absolutely not tell you how much.
But okay, so let's talk about that then. So some departments pay, in my mind, it's a West Coast department. They pay 10% of their income into their retirement. So if they stayed for an additional 3 years and they were making $100,000 a year, to make numbers easy, they're paying $10,000 a year into the pension. For 3 years, it's $30,000. Is it worth it to pay $30,000 into your pension to get a 1%? I don't even know if their numbers are, to get a 1% return at the end of your career if it only goes up $1,000? No, because you just lost $30,000. So it'll take 30 years to recover that time that you lost. So a lot of guys never pay attention to their pension. A lot of them don't know how they're serviced or anything like that. Like, we are a self-funded retirement. So a lot of departments, like, what is it, like I think Flint, Michigan, I think Detroit, they were funded, the city funded it. And when the city went bankrupt, that means they didn't have to pay the pensions out anymore. So pay attention to who controls your money, because if somebody else is controlling it and making bad decisions, then it can affect the rest of your livelihood, the rest of your life.
Which is a really valid point. And I think Ian brought it up when he was talking about Baltimore. And this has always been the big argument for all of us, because most of us that are in this group or listening to the podcast are somewhere in there where they're receiving a pension, is if they start to realize that bankruptcy will allow them to not have to fulfill those obligations, when push comes to shove, what do you think cities are going to do? They're going to pull that lever and save themselves. And my thing is, if they do it when you're 56 years old and you just retired, and they're like, hey, your pension is gone, and you're like, what am I going to do? And you have no backup, it's a scary situation to be in. And granted, not that this would mirror each other, but let's say you learn a skill like Aaron has, where he has the woodworking and the acrylics and things like that. Or for me, it's mortgages. Or for other guys in our group, it's pressure washing or window washing. Will it equal what your pension was? Maybe not. It could exceed it, but if it's less than, at least you have another income stream coming in. And that's always, I guess, been my primary concern, is I have fun going to the fire station. I love it. But I do think that at some point our pension could get taken away. So I just wanted to have at least one more avenue to have I just wanted a backup plan, which is funny coming from somebody who doesn't like to plan a whole lot. That's one thing for me that's huge. And I think it's because of 2007, 8, and 9. I got caught red-handed, and I was like, okay, this is never happening again. I need to have fail safes to do this. And that's why I'm so passionate about this group. I know that's why Aaron's so passionate about the group. And I know that's what Mike is passionate. I want to give guys and gals different alternatives to create different income streams, to better your life, to better your family. And I mean, I'll ask you this too. I know the answer is the same for Mike and myself. All these things have enabled you to do things that you would not normally be able to do on the job, right?
Income
money
might not buy you happiness, but money buys answers and fixes problems faster. So correct, I do it for quality of life.
100%. And me too. And to be honest with you, when I started, it was nowhere near that, but I busted my butt. Like I was thinking about this the other day. I really have, not that I'm patting myself on my back, but I know you have too. I know how hard Mike has worked, because I know we all know each other's stories probably better than we even put it out there. But it's one of those things I'm like, dude, I worked freaking hard. And this is what brought it to light. Was I went on a vacation last week, and I'm like, oh, I had all these credit card points. But the reason it was is I didn't use any of them in the last 4 or 5 years, because I literally was so laser focused on doing specific tasks of flipping houses that all of these things, I was like, oh my gosh, this just happened. But I realized that those last 5 years, honestly, drastically changed my life.
But we had a podcast about, using points to your benefit and to your advantage. We had podcasts with guys who are doing mud jacking and window washing and stuff like that. And actually, I want to bring that up. So I was talking to Adam Forstner, who was on our podcast a couple months ago, and I sent him a message because he put on Facebook. He's like, "Hey, who builds websites?" And I was like, "Hey, man, I can walk you through building a website on Google if you want to." He's like, "I don't have the time, the bandwidth, the capacity to do it." He's like, "I just want to hire somebody to do it."
I saw you put that out.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I wanted to help him out, because I know building websites can be like literally tens of thousands of dollars if you know how to do it and you do coding. Like that's one of my nephews. That's what he wants to do, is he wants to do coding. But he was like, it's not worth my time, energy, and effort. Like I'm making too much money doing something else. And I was like, that's cool. So I'm not gonna fault him for it. There's my right is not necessarily his right. My strategy is not gonna be his strategy. But you mentioned bankruptcy, and I actually brought this up when I was looking at before. So bankruptcy is a big boys game. So I've got a house under contract that's going to bankruptcy court tomorrow, January 10th. And there's different types of bankruptcy. So I'm just going to go over the different types. There's liquidation, where you basically have to sell everything. That's chapter 7. Chapter 13 is repayment plan. Chapter 11 is a large reorganization. Chapter 12 is family farmers. 15 used for foreign cases, and chapter 9 is for municipalities, like a government, when they bankrupt you and don't have to pay your pension. So some people buy they buy businesses and bankrupt them because they have to rebrand, but they get to keep all the assets. The property that I'm trying to buy that goes to court tomorrow, they are able to sell their house, but still retain some of the equity profit in the property if the judge agrees to it. Now, if the judge doesn't agree to it or the price, then he can deny the contract that I'm under for. And I didn't know this when I was under contract. They can deny that. And then within a week or two, if it does pass, then the debtors, the people that the owners of the property owe money to, they can actually go back and appeal the decision of the judge to sell the house for more, because they're not getting enough money if their debt's getting wiped off. So that's a good group to market to. I know guys that market to them for motorcycles, cars, properties, any kind of asset, any kind of tangible asset. So I'm glad you mentioned bankruptcy, because it can be, whether from cars to houses, it can be a good marketing campaign if you want to get into it. Or if you're Mr. Moneybanks, you know how the legalities work. You can buy a business, bankrupt it, and then be they can't come after you for the loss, and then just start over fresh with all the assets. You don't have to pay for it.
Riches are in the niches. Learn a skill and just get better at it than anybody else, and go, what do they say, a mile deep, or instead of a mile wide, go a mile deep. Just get good at one task. And I know guys who do like that bankruptcy, or they do probate, or like myself, most of my money in real estate investing has been marketing to people who are delinquent on their property taxes.
Yep.
because for me, I already know that's one indicator of distress. And so I had a training call with my VA today about that, because
it sounds like you got some happy kids in the background, man. Quality of life.
We got 3 kids, yeah, back today. One of them is a visitor. So I went over that with him today. I said that's a good indicator of distress. So I've just made it a point to focus on one thing in my flipping business, and that is what I do. And it's, bore a lot of good fruit. But now, once you go, you point of saturation. Now I'm trying to learn a new skill or learn a new profit center. That's why the printer was exciting to me, and that's what I mean. As we start this new year and we're going to be doing different podcast guests, I personally would love to see, all over the gamut. Our friends and the people that we're interviewing are more often than not involved in real estate, which I personally love, but I do want to grow it to where we can find what people are looking to learn, and we can go out there and find people. And we talked about infinite banking today, that we were going to look for somebody for infinite banking. But if people have interests that are outside of real estate or what we've already discussed, let us know. If they want to have somebody that was on previously too, that we didn't go in a direction that they wanted to, please also let us know. And let us know if it's more beneficial to you guys to have a guest on and we ask them a set group of questions and we go down a questioning line that will help all of you grow, or if we do like what Aaron and I are doing now, chasing squirrels. Whatever you guys want to do, that's what we're looking to do this year. And we had an initial goal of doing 52 podcasts, and I just guessing from where we're going now, I have a feeling we're going to go further. But I think for us to grow as far as what we're looking to see is in terms of engagement, I think it's vital that if you are listening to this today, and if you could help us as we're going 46 minutes into this, is what do you guys want to see? Who do you want us to go ask if they'll be on the podcast? What businesses are you interested in? And if it's not a business, like we just talked about, I have no idea how my pension works as far as selling days back. If we need people on here who understand pensions, 457s, life insurance, long-term disability insurance, short-term disability insurance.
Yep.
I have no clue about long-term disability insurance. And I'll tell you what, I do not have long-term disability insurance. All of these things, if you guys want help, and I know we guys talk it up at the fire station all day long, all different tasks. Please come to us and let us know what you want to learn. And I promise you, all 3 of us will go out and find somebody who we can get on this show, and we will go whatever route you want us to go with those individual guests.
Let's wrap up on some actionable items. Let's finish out strong. So you mentioned delinquent taxes or people who are in tax trouble, right? So you know as well as I do that when somebody doesn't pay their taxes, the government comes after them. They put a lien on the property, and then the government sells the taxes basically. So somebody like Tyler or myself or people listening can go out and buy those taxes, and then we'll say it's my property. Say I didn't pay my taxes on my property. I didn't pay $2,000. We'll say $1,000, round numbers. Tyler decided to go to buy those taxes at the auction for $1,000. Now I have to pay Tyler back a set percentage. It could be 10, 15, 20. The places that I play in right now are paying 21% a year in return on investment. So if it takes a year for me to pay Tyler back, he's made 21% of $1,000. So $1,210. If he decides to get a lawyer after 4 months in my jurisdiction, now I have to pay the $1,210 back plus the lawyer fees. So it takes 2 years to foreclose this property. And if it takes me up until the time the gavel drops, then Tyler has made a significant return on investment. 99% of delinquent taxes are paid back because usually there's a mortgage with the property and the bank will come in and pay it off, and it'll default back to the bank. Now, I've had one property that didn't pay it back. This was back in like the 2008 era after the market crash. And the bank paid for the house, but they did not pay for the acre of land next to the house that they also owned. So I think I paid something like $1,500 for the delinquent taxes. And then I paid the lawyer fees and the filing fees and the taxes for the next year. We'll say I was into it for right around $9,000. And I ended up turning around and selling it on Craigslist for $28,000 in 48 hours. And then we closed on it because a builder wanted the property. So is there opportunity out there? Yes. Is there return on investments? Yes. There's also tax deed states. That's a tax lien state. A tax deed state is where you buy the deed to the property. We'll say Pennsylvania. We'll say Gettysburg because I looked up there. So I go to the Gettysburg, the county, Adams County in Gettysburg, or Pennsylvania, and they give me an entire list of all the people who were delinquent their taxes. And I ended up buying a deed to the property that had a bunch of liens on it. It could be a mechanical lien, where a contractor's lien. It could be a HOA lien, water lien, a whole bunch of stuff. But then I take the deed and I have to pay all those outstanding liens off for me to take ownership of the property. So do they have these lists? Yes, almost every jurisdiction has a list either once a year or once every 2 years. Is it public knowledge? Yes, it is. So Tyler, what he does is he goes and finds where these lists are, and then he markets to them like, hey, if you are in trouble, would you be interested in selling your property? Or would you let me buy your property? Or if you were a real estate agent, would you be interested in letting me list this property? You can do door hangers. Tyler's got door hangers up in the video right now. Actually, I've got some of the same ones sitting right here. You know, you can just go to the door in your county or your jurisdiction and hang them on the doors. Now, the obstacle I've seen, one of the biggest drawbacks or one of the cons is going to be, there's a guy in Baltimore who did this, and he has a team that goes out. Is there a roof? Is there windows? Is there doors? Is there squatters? Is there somebody living there? Does it have alley access? What neighborhood is it in? Because people were buying these houses sight unseen, or putting their bidding at auction on these properties that have burned up, broken down, have squatters living in them. It's in a open air drug market, whatever. So they ended up buying the lien on properties that have no value. So go out and look at them. Go on Google Earth, look at the satellite image, look at the street view, and make sure it's up to date and hasn't burnt down or been shot up or doesn't have dead bodies laying around it.
Well said. Yeah, I mean, there's like we say, there's a million ways to make a million
bucks.
And yeah, these are actually mailers through Mr. Todd Swagger. No, you're good. But since we are kind of bouncing, so we'll take that one step further. So after I mail them, you have this right here, and this says undeliverable or address unknown, forwarding address unknown, right? So if I got this, that means everybody else who's mailing them got this same thing. And this is where most people stop. But if you can find out where this person lives and get in touch with them, you're going to be one step ahead of everybody else, because people don't know how to get past this point, and you can skip trace people like this.
Let's go over skip tracing. What's skip tracing?
So skip tracing, you go through a service like, there's who do I use? Skip Genie, or there's a bunch of other providers. But basically what you're doing is there's companies that scour the internet, all types of public records. Oh, Aaron went down. There's companies that provide all this information on any individual, whereas the post office does not have access to that. I get old cell phone numbers. I get old landlines. I get previous addresses, all of these things. Relatives, possible marriages, divorce. You can get as far as, do they have parking or not parking tickets, like speeding tickets, all of these things, because everything is computerized now. You can pull all this stuff up. So I take that mailer, I enter that person's name into a skip tracing service, I get the contact information, and then I get in contact with that person, and I see if they're interested in selling. And like I said earlier, usually if they're tax delinquent, that's one point of distress. If you can't find them, that means that they're not living at the property, which means the property is vacant, which means that's a second point of distress, and you continue to go down that route. And it's a good way to get started. So
now, what are you paying per lead, per skip trace?
Per skip trace, I mean, there's some that are as cheap as there's like 59 cents a lead. There's free people or fast people search, which is free. Yeah. I don't go that route because, not that it's bad data, you just have different tiers of data. And I want to separate myself from my competition. Am I willing to spend, even let's say it was $1 a record, am I willing to spend $1 a record to get better data with a better chance of contacting that person? Yeah, absolutely. But if you are starting, go the free route, put some sweat equity into it, use some elbow grease, go to the fastpeoplesearch.com. Most of the time, that's honestly going to be pretty similar to what you get for a pay service, and see if you can contact that person. If you can't, then you can go to a pay service. Yeah, but it's not that expensive. It's like, I want to say I pay a set monthly fee, like $79 a month or $99 a month. And for that, I get so many credits. And granted, I've had that service for a long time, but I could never, that's Skip Genie. And honestly, I've got enough money out of it to where if I use that for the next 20 years, I'm never gonna, it's paid for itself. It's so cheap. It doesn't matter, because if you find somebody that nobody else can, and they're already hard to find, they're tax delinquent and they're hard to find, you need to press. And that's what the training I did with my VA today is, hey, if all of these things are aligning, we know this person's a motivated seller. We need to press. And to be honest, we lost a property on Friday because I was on vacation and I wasn't paying a close attention to that we should have got. The property was built in 98. So, there's not a lot of maintenance issues with a property that young. There was tax delinquent. The property was vacant. And unfortunately, the person's husband was terminally ill. And so all these lead to them needing to sell for a reason. And she needed money to pay for her husband's care. And I said, hey man, we're going to go and we're providing a service for her that she needs right now. She cannot go the traditional route. She does not have 30 or 60 days. She needs the money now to get her husband the care that she needs. In turn, we make a profit as long as we're not being bottom feeders and we're giving them a fair price and we're both walking away happy. Then we're doing a service that she needs. She's not calling because she thinks we're going to give her top dollar. She knows that she needs to move quickly in order to get her husband adequate care. Now, if I could pay top dollar and still make money, would I do it? Yeah, but I know that's not reality. So that was a good training call today. But it like I said, it's
funny story for you. I got a funny story for you. So I was showing the guys at the firehouse Fast People Search. I was like plugging their name in there and then pulling up all their like relatives and exes and the places they lived and blah, blah, blah. And one of the guys was like, he's like, hey man, can you look up this address or this name for me? I was like, yeah, no problem. So I, punched it in my phone, Fast People Search, look it up. He's like, what's the address? So I was like, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, all right, cool. I was like, why? He's like, friend of yours? He's like, nah, that motherfucker owes me money. He's like, I'm gonna go see about my money. I was like, oh shit. Like I just caused a potential issue.
Well, and it's funny how accurate it all is, right? Like 10 years ago, I think that stuff would not have been as accurate, but it's insanely accurate now.
Yeah,
everything in our life.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And now you look at it and it's like you can go to whitepages.com, same thing, and you can get so much data for free. And to me, I'm like, oh my, A, personally, I don't like it, but B, for business, it's amazing. I mean, you can really get a lot of data off there for free.
It terrifies me because the amount of AI, the artificial intelligence out there right now, and the amount of free information you have on people, it's so easy to clone somebody if you wanted to. Honestly, if somebody hooked up AI to our podcast, they could probably recreate our faces and our voices and then just take whatever information they have off of this and use it against us if they really, really wanted to. I'm not worth that much money. Anybody who's listening, don't try to clone me and steal my data, please.
Yeah, me either. So we're at 57 minutes. Before we finish, Mike mentions this book a lot. I was talking to Aaron about this. If you guys are looking for a way to set goals this year, this book is called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. I highly suggest getting it. For those of you in the group, I've already given 2 book giveaways. Quit being deadbeats. No, I love giving books. I think knowledge is power. This book is $8.99. And legit, it is so worth it. If you do not know how to set goals, how to achieve goals, or even know like how to really define a goal, get this book, read it. If you want to talk about it, I'm sure Mike or myself will nerd out. I'm sure Aaron is familiar enough with goal setting that although he may not have read the book, he can probably help you out as well. But this is an insanely powerful book. I just am urging everybody that is still listening to us jibber jabber after 58 minutes. If you have something that you want to do, just start and get in the group.
Nathan Brooks' book comes out in 2 days, 3 days?
The No Quitters Guide. Yeah, that's huge too. The No Quitters Guide. He's a lot like us to where none of us have it figured out. I still do not have it figured out. What I'm comfortable with though at this point in my life is I will go fall flat on my face. because I know once I pick myself back up, and it may take me 10 times, I'm going to figure it out. And it's funny. My dad always tells me this. And the other day I realized, hey, you know what? That's actually my greatest skill now. My dad said, no matter what I told you to do, you had to figure it out on your own. Yep. You were not going to let anybody tell you how to do it. And B, you always chose the hardest friggin' way to do it. And I said, hey, but here's the thing. Now, like when I do stuff like this, if I do know it's a daunting task, I know I always say you got to embrace the suck. That is my greatest skill. I don't have like a lot of these things that other guys. I don't have woodworking skills. I don't have these things, but I do know one thing. I could sit somewhere and I will bust my butt until I figure out how to do it. It may take you 5 hours. It may take me 100, but I know in my head I will push through that 100 hours. So for those of you listening that think I don't have a skill, most of us know how to work hard.
Hey, look,
just be willing to push through it.
The bandwidth and capacity are the two big things, but let's be honest, like there's so much stuff on YouTube. If you want to learn how to build a freaking house, you can go on YouTube and figure it out. And if you want to learn how to laser, you can hit me up. Or you can hit YouTube up, or you can hit somebody with the customer service up. Like if you want to learn how to do things, the information is out there. So anybody who's going to hustle, go out there. Don't see things as a roadblock. See them as an obstacle and figure out how to get past the obstacle. So
the obstacle is the way. Happy New Year, everybody. You got anything else? You want to end it on that note?
Let's end it out there. That sounds good to me.
All right, you guys. Like I said, please hit us up with guests that you want on the show. Ideas that you want for the show. Do you want a panel discussion? Anything that you guys can provide us ideas to provide you guys with value, we would appreciate it. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Say it.
Thanks again for spending some time with us today. If you found value in anything you heard, please share with someone who may benefit. We look forward to connecting between shows in our Facebook group, First Responder Financial Freedom. Till next time.